Hi, I'm Aya.
And I'm Libby.
And welcome to the Dancing Devis podcast,
where we nurture the goddess that lives within us all.
Today we are wanting to talk about what does that mean? How do we practice nurturing our inner goddess?
Exactly. And that goddess that lives within us, once you've awoken her and she's awake, once the goddess that's living within us has woken up, she requires nurturing and nourishment and attention. And how do we give that part of ourselves that love and attention that she requires? Because the goddess that lives within us all is that higher self frequency that is pushing us forward, and she is the catalyst for our evolution in this lifetime. So in turn, we need to make sure that we're taking care of her. And one way you can do that is by enjoying a cacao with your bestie while making a video.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Thoughts?
What does it mean to me to embody my inner goddess and to nurture her? I feel like really connected to my inner goddess lately. I feel like I love expressing that part of myself, and there's so many ways that I nurture that feeling within myself. And a really huge one, the one that really opened up this portal and started all, is movement. I think dancing and getting in touch with that energy and allowing it to move through me and express through me. I think that's really what opened the door.
Beautiful. Yes, I agree with you. I feel like movement is such a beautiful way to activate that goddess energy that lives within us. And then once you have unlocked that natural movement, that flow, and when you're in that state of mind where you can close your eyes and just be so connected to your body and your breath and the music and the feelings, that is whenever your inner goddess is being nurtured and when she is in her power, because dance is such a powerful medicine and it puts us in our power. Recently, we had been talking about how in some places on this earth, people aren't allowed to dance. And dance is something that brings so many people joy and laughter and happiness. And it's a liberating feeling to be able to move your body how it's asking you to move it. And when you're in tune with that, you truly are in your power. And what better way to oppress people or to control people than to take away their happiness or to take away their movement. And so it really is a privilege for us to be able to move our bodies and to feel free to express ourselves in that way and to nourish the goddess within us, because the more that we can move our bodies and express ourselves authentically, the more we are stepping into our power. And movement has been a huge medicine for me in this lifetime, and being able to unlock that part of me and release that fear of judgment of others has been one of the most life-changing things I've ever experienced.
And that's really what our prayerformance collective, and that's what Dancing Devis is rooted in, is in dancing in this prayerful way that expresses the goddess within us and shares that frequency with other people.
Yes.
So I think that's a really beautiful way of elaborating on it.
Yeah. So I would love to hear a moment in your life where you felt that goddess energy fully in her power, and where you felt like you were just the vessel for that goddess energy to come through?
I feel like I've had a lot of experiences like that, but the first one that comes to mind that like was really a life-changing moment for me was whenever I finally actualized a 4-year-long manifestation of performing with the musicians that first sparked that inspiration for me. Whenever I saw Desert Dwellers perform at Sonic Bloom 2021, their performers were goddesses, you know, they were just like on that wavelength.
They were in their goddess
I had
power.
never seen people dancing in that way before, and I instantly knew like this is the type of performing that I feel called to be doing. And it was my biggest goal for a long time to perform with Desert Dwellers since then.
Yeah.
And then this past summer at the Texas Eclipse Festival, I got to perform with them with Alex Gray live painting on stage behind me in front of like the biggest crowd I'd ever danced in front of. And I don't even feel like I was conscious for that experience whenever it was happening. I was like just completely like a vessel of like the music and the energy and like the expression, and that was what I was really trying to channel in that performance was goddess energy, you know, because that's been my goal for years of like what I want to create through this performance art is like embodying that and sharing it with other people and having them be able to like pick up on that in a very psychedelic way, you know? I feel like that's like also really what stemmed a lot of the awakening of my inner goddess was using psychedelics. And I want to be able to share it with people in a way where they don't have to do the medicine. They can receive it from me because I've done it.
You've fully unlocked that way of channeling that energy and fully expressing what that energy is showing you and teaching you. And I've always seen that within your performance, and your performance for Desert Dwellers was incredible. It was amazing because I had gone, you know, into the front of the crowd, obviously, to record Aya up there living out one of her dream manifestations, and I knew this was a huge moment for her. And I remember seeing her off stage taking deep breaths and so in her zone and thinking like, oh my goodness, this is like the moment, it's happening. And right before she went on, Alex and Allison Gray came onto the stage and started live painting right before Aya went on. And I just remember thinking,
it was
this dream
could
not be better. And this is something we were actually, you know, chatting about off camera, is how whenever you are manifesting something into your life, or whenever you have a big dream, it might not manifest exactly in the way that you're picturing it to happen. But like in actuality, it's going to be even better than anything that you could have imagined. Because I feel like in that moment when you were like, oh, like about to perform for Desert Dwellers, even though this was a huge dream for you, it felt like almost casual. Like it was almost like, I know you were feeling, you know, really excited and like the adrenaline, and this was a big dream, but at the same time it was like, okay, like we're here, you've made it to the dream. And I feel like that's a lot of what manifesting can feel like at times, is whenever the dream actualizes, it can just feel like, oh, well, this is just kind of what's meant to happen now. And so yeah, it's really interesting how our dreams manifest in really mysterious ways and in beautiful ways. And
I always trust that it could be better than anything that I could imagine.
Totally.
That's the way I like to call it in.
Yes. Yes. Oh.
I feel like another way that I've really tapped into nurturing my inner goddess has been through a lot of self-care, which is not something that I was really raised to be taught. I feel like it's something I really had to teach myself as an adult.
Totally.
And now I'm like, I see like so much magic in it whenever you really slow down and be present and get creative with your present moment and just like nurture yourself in really juicy ways. Like lately I've been loving taking like luxurious baths as often as I can and like oiling my whole body and tending to myself in this really sacred way that makes me feel like a goddess. I like to wear things and tend to my external appearance in this way that makes me feel like my inner goddess is expressing outwards.
And I think that is such a huge part of nurturing the goddess within us. It's nurturing the vessel that we've been given, and it's taking care of our bodies and giving our bodies the love that it deserves and showing our bodies the love that it deserves. And whether that be through taking a nice bath or wearing a nice oil or, you know, a yummy scent that you love before going to bed, or treating yourself to a nice hair oil, or eating yummy foods that are really healthy and nourishing. And these are all things that I think that so many people overlook because they are so busy with their external environment. And this is something that I really had to learn on my journey, was that I am an empath, and so typically it's really natural for me to want to nurture those around me who are in my circle. And this can kind of be detrimental to me because in the process, you know, it's one thing to nurture those that you love, but it's another to abandon yourself in that process. And so I really had to learn, okay, I deserve that love and I deserve that nourishment and that nurturing. And I can't expect anybody to give me that besides myself. I am the only one who has the power to give myself the love and care that I feel I deserve. And so that was a huge awakening in my self-love journey. Was, okay, who's gonna hold me in this moment? Well, it's gonna be me. Like, I'm gonna hold myself. I'm gonna give myself the soft blankets and read that nice book and take that time for myself.
You know, that's really funny because right before you started saying that, I had the same thought of nurturing others, but kind of from the opposite end of the spectrum. On one hand, it is really important to firsthand nurture yourself. But I think part of nurturing the goddess is nurturing not only your own goddess, but the collective goddess. And that starts with nurturing your own goddess, but once you have that base, I think it's really important to start uplifting the other women around you. And that's why it's beautiful to express ourselves in this way. To do that, and we do that so much with each other and with all of the women in our lives. We were just saying this earlier, but like, we all speak so many words of affirmation to each other, and we're always like, just like motivating each other and pushing each other to like go chase our dreams. And I think that's like a huge part of nurturing the goddess, nurturing all the goddesses.
The goddess that lives within me is the same goddess that's living within you, that's living in with all of our sisters. And yeah, what you were saying about how the way of nurturing the goddess within others, I think, is through showing others the way in which you can nurture yourself. Because I think in some ways, whenever we are becoming reliant on other people to give us that validation or to give us that nourishment or that nurturing, we can grow an unhealthy dependency on external factors to fulfill that within us. But once you learn, okay, my power comes from within, and I have the power to nurture that goddess and give myself all of the love and the happiness. You are then leading by example for other women to see, okay, I have that power too. And then that in turn is empowering others to find it within themselves to give themselves the love that they deserve. Because I think that is a huge worldwide problem that we are facing on this planet is so many people, not even just women, are, you know, so lost, and that goddess might not even be awoken within them. Or maybe they've had sparks of awakening, but they haven't been nurturing that goddess that lives within them. And in turn, they are lost, or they're feeling, you know, confused, or trying to seek out the answers in the external.
Yeah, because they're not in the present moment.
Yes.
And that's where you tap into it, is whenever you slow down and you're in the present moment. Whenever you're distracted in your mind by all of these external stimuli, you can't be connected to that. You can't be present with spirit in that space. And that is a huge epidemic in our culture.
Totally.
People are so distracted. They are just going through their habits every day without variation.
Yeah.
And
It's the same cycle day in and day out.
it's hard to escape from that whenever
So
it's all you know.
And then it's a snowball effect. Like, I found myself in that cycle before. And when you're caught in the cycle and you're unaware on top of it, it can feel like so much suffering, and, you know, it can be miserable at times. But that moment when you awake and you find yourself in your present moment, and you can feel gratitude for what you have and the life force that lives within you, and you really sit with that spirit within yourself, that is the most nurturing thing that you can do for
Oh my gosh.
for that inner goddess.
Once you tap into that presence and that creativity and that magic, life becomes endless possibilities and full of so much beauty. And I feel like the great mystery starts providing for you in these really powerful synchronistic ways that you never noticed before.
Totally. So something that we were kind of talking about earlier was you manifesting your dream experience performing for desert dwellers. And that is a beautiful gift that you have as a master manifester. And I really admire that quality within you. And I'd love to hear more about how you manifest in your day-to-day life. And on the opposite end of that, I feel like for whenever I manifest, it's almost like whenever I am just so fully in my present moment, and you probably relate to this too, like when you're so in your present moment and you are just taking care of what you need, and you're tuned into your body, and you're listening to all of the signs, things do just mysteriously align in such beautiful ways. And you find that without even trying, without even lifting a finger, without even having to put, any feelers out into the universe, it's almost like, oh, here it is on a silver platter. Like, here is a dream that you didn't even know that you had. And I feel like that's been happening a lot with me recently, was really tapping into this inner goddess energy and nurturing that goddess within myself. I feel like I haven't even really been focused on like future goals, but so many doors have been opening for me that it feels like, okay, now I can start planning and manifesting for these little pockets of my future.
You know why that is? Because once we're tapped into our inner power like that, we have more self-worth. And that's where the manifestations come from. They come from believing that you are capable and worthy of having that which you desire.
Ooh, yes, so true.
Yeah, so I feel like that's why it's so important to tap into this inner goddess, because that's where all of it starts stemming from. And that is, you asked like how it is that I manifest things. That is like the most potent step of the manifestation process, is just believing that you could totally have that. And there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to have that thing, you know?
Yeah.
That is like a huge step of my process. Whenever I have a thought, I desire this experience or this tangible item or whatever it is, this relationship, whatever it is, I allow it to come in. I think, I would love that. I would really like to have that. I could totally see myself having that. Like, that's totally possible. Like, And a lot of times I'll just talk about things that I have no idea if they're gonna happen, as if they're 100% like gonna happen. Like I'll be like, whenever I perform for this person, whenever I'm in this country, I'm gonna do this. Like I just trust and believe that like that will happen. And that's why so many things do happen.
Yeah.
And once I do that, I let it go, and I'm just like not worried about how I'm gonna make it happen, or like what if it doesn't happen, or like, oh my gosh, like all these hoops I'm gonna have to jump through to make it happen or whatever. I let it go, and then it will come in a way that I never would have expected. And that's way better than I ever would have expected.
Totally. Yes, totally. That is the key. And I feel like once you have that formula down, it truly is a science. It's the science of manifesting these beautiful experiences into your life. And I feel like you really do have that formula down. And it's really beautiful to know and trust in the universe so deeply that I don't know how it's gonna happen. This can be the most outlandish idea, and maybe it's totally out there, but you know what? That is what I want, and I know I'm worthy of that, and
I'm open to it.
And I'm open to it.
And I'm not attached to it.
And I'm also not attached.
And another really essential part of the formula is responding versus action.
Ooh, yes.
And waiting.
Yes.
Because if you try and rush it, there's going to be resistance, and you're going to go down this whole spiral. I've done this so many times where I like want something, and then I'm like trying so hard to make it happen, and then I'm getting so stressed. Why isn't it happening? And I'm like lowering my standards to try and make it happen, and then I'm like, oh wait, surrender, wait, sit back. Oh wait, here's the perfect opportunity, and now whenever the opportunity has presented itself, that's when I take action. Like, it's an inner knowing of like, now is the moment to take action. You know when it's time. So I think that is a super important part, is the patience.
Patience is key. And I feel like I have been realizing that patience has been a huge part of my own karmic lessons in my own journey. Is I have really learned the practice of patience, and the universe is not working on our time, it's working on its own time, but it's all in divine timing, truly. And so just trusting that everything you desire will come to you tenfold, and just being patient with that, because exactly like you said, the more that you kind of attach yourself or cling to these ideas of what you think it's supposed to look like, it's not so much of specific like image in my mind. It's more so you're just trying to create and generate the feeling that you'll feel when you have that thing. So I think gratitude is also really important, because gratitude kind of creates space. Because when you're feeling grateful for what you have in your present moment, it creates space for patience, so that you aren't in this place of feeling like, I need this right now, and if I don't get this right now, then I'm not going to be happy, because now you're not vibrating at the frequency in which you need to receive. You're not in that receptive mode.
In the yeah.
Shout out Abraham Hicks.
In the vortex.
You're not in the vortex. Yes.
Wow. That's so true. Since we're on this topic of manifestation, I feel like I just want to like continue going in deeper on it.
Totally. It's like we started with nurturing the inner goddess, but it's kind of flowing into manifesting,
which is a topic I really wanted to make a video about, so it's perfect. Wow, yeah. Something that I've really thought a lot about on this subject too is instant versus long-term manifestations, and like the amount of energy that you need to put into manifestations. Like I've noticed that really simple manifestations will occur really quickly. A really good example of this is once whenever I was on the beach in Costa Rica, I was walking down, and earlier in the day I had been in this artist's shop, and he had collected a bunch of washed up bones and skulls and things and like made it into art pieces. And I was walking down the beach and I thought to myself, I would really like to find a washed up skull. And then I took 2 more steps and looked down, and there on the ground in front of me was the most beautiful fish skull that I had ever seen. Like, it was so gorgeous. I posted it on Reddit and it went viral.
Yeah.
And it was just like
truly
instant.
Is an epic skull. I wish we had it. We should show them. Looks like.
I'll like insert a clip of it here.
Yes. Here is the crazy skull.
So that was like a really easy manifestation. It was very easy for the universe to orchestrate that one.
Yeah.
Whereas some manifestations can take months or years, or who knows, like a lifetime to really create, because it's so powerful and big that it takes a lot of energy input and a lot of trust and like consistency. Consistently reframing your mindset back to the trusting, positive mindset whenever you start losing the trust or like getting down, reframing itself, bringing yourself back to, okay, I'm not going to let myself get down. Like, here is, I still believe in this, and doing different practices, allowing yourself to feel what it would feel like, and just trusting. And then after so much of that, it could happen months or years later with my performance. I feel like my current living situation took me years to manifest this like super, super beautiful sacred living situation that I'm definitely gonna make a video about.
Yeah, you'll have to tell them about that journey and how you manifested this living experience into your life, because it truly is so aligned with where you're at right now. And I think that is the biggest part of it all, is the universe meets you where you're at. So when you're in alignment, you know, if you have this big goal in mind, you just have to be kind of consistently aligning yourself to achieve that. And then before you know it, it will just flow into your life, and then you'll think, how did I get here? Like, oh my goodness, I really created this reality for myself. But you've been putting in that work for years.
Sometimes it feels surreal.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's almost hard to comprehend the things that I've manifested. And that like is just starting to fruit, you know? And it was a hard process.
So true.
I went through like a really deep shadow period where I was just like releasing and transmuting so much. And then as soon as I came out of that, it was like, okay, here.
Yeah.
Here's everything.
So true. It's like, I love to picture it like this. Our minds are a blank soil, a blank field of soil, and you have the opportunity to plant all of these different seeds. We have all of these different seeds that we plant, and then it takes time to water and to nurture those seeds. It kind of goes back into nurturing the goddess and nurturing those aspects of your life that you want to see come to fruition. And yeah, I feel like right now with me and you in our lives, so many of the things that we have been working towards, we've planted these seeds years ago, and we're just now starting to see the fruits of our labor, and we're reaping the harvest, and we're enjoying the beautiful, abundant flow that is the universe. Like, the universe is magic, basically. Whenever we were talking about instant manifestations, it made me think about whenever I was living in Hawaii for a couple months.
Oh, yeah, I love this one.
Yes, and my friend that I was traveling with, Laura, she had bought this candle from a store, and it was a beeswax candle. And the store owner, like, at first Laura was like, should I buy this candle? And the store owner told her, I put so much magic into that candle. Anytime you light it, whatever you seek will instantly manifest. So Laura was like, I have to buy this candle. Like, okay, let's see. And so, you know, living in Maui, if you don't have a car, you kind of have to hitchhike to get around. And her and I had this whole crazy adventure where we ended up on the other side of the island, had to stay overnight at this really awesome farm with these really kind people who let us crash there for the night. And then the next morning when we woke up, we were like, okay, now we got to get home. Like, all right, let's put the thumb up and let's just hope for the best. We had been standing there, you know, maybe, who knows how long, 20 minutes or something, and nobody had driven by. And then Laura remembers that she has this candle in her bag. So she lights it up. Not even 5 seconds later, I swear, a car pulls up, knows we need a ride. We hop in and they take us all the way to where we need to go. And I remember her and I were just talking about it, and it was just so funny because it's almost like you place that order for the universe. Oh, here it is, you know? It's like, oh, you want a burger and fries? Oh, here it is, delivered right to your doorstep. So yeah, those instant manifestations really can happen so quickly, and it's almost as quick as the thought comes to you. Oh, there it is.
And it's like such a powerful synchronicity. And whenever I'm in a place where that is happening consistently, that's when I know, okay, I'm in the flow right now.
Yeah.
Like this, I am doing exactly what I need to be doing because I'm experiencing these types of things. Similarly, in those types of times, I find that I experience so much deja vu.
Ooh, yes. Oh, deja vu is a crazy one. And I feel like it does go hand in hand with that manifestation because, you know, as we talked about on our last episode, our time in Colorado, I remember when we were sitting with Hape so many times and you were teaching me how to use the Curipe, I remember experiencing dreams of this deja vu where I was like using the Curipe, and it was just like almost like timelines were overlapping in a way where it's like, I feel like I've done this before, I've experienced this before, but this is my first time in this plane of existence. And when you're so in flow like that, it can really feel like your timelines are overlapping.
That's exactly the conclusion I've come to, because at certain periods, whenever I am really in the flow, will experience intense deja vu, like multiple times a day, so powerful that I like literally just have to stand there like this for like 30 seconds. And it usually feels like I've dreamt this before.
Oh, and your dreams. We should have a whole episode on dreams.
That's a great idea. We definitely will.
Yeah, because dreams, I feel like, well, especially with Aya, like she is a visionary. And so many of her dreams, while they may be wild, so many of them are so aligned with your path and actually are true in so many divine ways. And I feel this connection with myself as well. Like, my dreams are so potent and so powerful. And there's so many messages coming through in that space. And we're just like in pure receptive mode. So I think so many of the dreams that we have are because, you know, we are in that state of rest. We're in that state of receiving just pure source information.
Yeah.
And so many downloads occur in our sleep as well.
Yeah. It's so interesting
crazy.
how deja vu, the really powerful deja vu, does often feel like I dreamt this exact moment years ago. Sometimes I'm fully convinced, I'm sure I dreamt this exact moment years ago.
Yeah.
But what I think that the deja vu, to come back to that, what I think it might be is like timelines. I think, like what you said, crossing. It feels like I'm in between, and the choices that I make will decide which one I go off to. So whenever I'm in those times where I'm experiencing a lot of deja vu and a lot of synchronicity, I'm really doing my best to feel like really aligned with the highest, most positive path that I can be on, because it feels like a divergence of like, which choice are you gonna make?
Yeah.
Which way are you gonna go?
Yeah, it reminds me of whenever we had that Akashic reading, or we got to bear witness to a woman who was channeling the Akashic records, and it was really powerful. And there was so many beautiful messages being channeled through, and everyone in the audience had the chance to write down a question or two that they wanted to ask. And they went through every single question, and, you know, she was really tapping in and answering them almost immediately. And at one point, Goddess Isis came through in the reading, and she offered everybody in the audience the opportunity to leap timelines. And I remember in that moment thinking, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take the leap. And I felt myself mentally, physically, spiritually take that leap. And I feel like making that conscious choice to take that leap has put me in a timeline that is different than the one that I was in before I had made that decision.
100%. I have had different moments where it feels like over the course of a day I have shifted timelines, and it's only happened a couple times, and it's always at a significant moment, but it's such a powerful experience. I feel like personally for me, the day that I really attribute to like my major spiritual awakening day was on, a lot of people were calling it a portal day. It was a palindrome day. It was like 02202020. So it was in 2020. That day was like a massive shift for me. It was so crazy. Before that, I was really like shameful about spirituality. I was like very atheist, biologist, and like felt like ashamed to admit that I was starting to have some of these spiritual experiences because of my conditioning, that it was all woo-woo. But on that day I feel like I really like shifted timelines, and that's the day I feel like was my spiritual awakening. And since then, things have completely shifted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember whenever we first became friends, it was so eye-opening and almost shocking to me to become so close with someone who you were so hardcore atheist.
I was.
And it was, I loved you regardless, but it was just like I never actually truly met someone who said, I don't believe in anything. And it's, you know,
So
I think it's so crazy to think, because like, you know, that's like your science mind, like that's such a huge part of who you are. Like you are a biologist and you're so intelligent and you do have this love for the earth and you have a deep understanding for the inner workings of things. And I can understand how, you know, whenever you go to school for these things, a lot of the times those spaces don't allow you
Oh my gosh, yeah, no.
to have any room for
all of my professors, all of my classmates. And I already was feeling like I was atheist before I even went to university, because I was raised in an extremely intensely Christian family that really traumatized me from spirituality and from religion, because I was like, if it's like this, like I just don't agree with any of this. I don't want
a part of it.
Which now I have a new appreciation for Christianity, seeing it in different ways. But the way that I was brought up was so intense that it made me reject anything.
It was like you couldn't have any piece of that. I feel like you needed to fully separate from that, and it kind of allowed you to go on this path of independence to really find yourself. And the fact that you went through that and have still come out on the other side finding such an unbreakable trust in the universe, and you've really unlocked that beautiful goddess potential within you, is amazing. And it's such an epic transformation that I feel like has been so inspiring to bear witness to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It feels like, you know how people say like our souls chose our family for a reason? I really resonate with that now. I feel like it makes so much sense why I was born into that family.
Totally.
The way that they were, because they are deeply spiritual, and I feel like I did learn a lot about those realms in that way. But also, they were so intense with it that it made me rebel against it, and it made me question it. And that's like how I went down this whole journey. If they were like the normal, chill Christians, you know, don't put like so much emphasis on it, I feel like it's easy for people to just like stay within that because it's what's comfortable for them.
Right.
You know? So I'm glad.
The conditioning and the clinging to the fear of the unknown. Because it can be scary to be so vulnerable and rip the rug out from under you and everything that you've been raised to believe that has kind of molded who you are and molded your values, and you know, that's so deeply ingrained within your family structure too.
Honestly though, I feel like I never believed it. Like looking back, I feel like I never resonated with it, even though I was in school inside of churches until the 7th grade and was forced to go to church 3 or 4 times a week every week until high school. I feel like I always knew that it wasn't for me.
Deep down.
It's like a very fear-based, like their specific branch of it is very fear-based, I've found, you know? Like I remember being in my car seat, like one of my youngest memories. I remember being in my car seat, like really early morning, taking my dad to work, crying and just like saying over and over again, like, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, over and over again, because I was so scared to go to hell.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird experience to put on a young child, like to be so afraid. And like that's like always what they would come back to, is this fear-based, like, well, you're gonna go to hell, you have to have Jesus behind you to keep the demons away, or these types of things. But I feel like that's why I really resonate with the goddess and like this beautiful form of belief and spirituality that we've found, because it's not based in fear at all. It's only based in love and beauty and light. We still accept and honor the shadows, and we go through the shadows and we see them, but we are not in fear of them.
If anything, it's facing these shadows and shining a light on the shadows and releasing that fear and trusting that even in those moments where things feel very dark and scary, that there's really nothing to be afraid of. And it's all love and it's all light, and
it all has a divine purpose.
There's all a divine
Even
purpose.
Like those really difficult times, those are transformational periods that we need to go through to be able to be more empathetic and understanding of the world.
Totally.
Yeah,
when you can surrender to the shadows, I think that it allows for you to come out on the other side that much stronger and that much more adept to face I don't know, just like the external, face whatever comes your way.
Yeah. 100%. Oh, I love that tangent.
I know. It's important though, because, this is part of our journey. And I think that, with religious conditioning, it can really cause trauma within people, and it does instill so much fear. And I think that people, are fearful to break away from that because they fear judgment.
Yeah, it's extremely judgmental.
Especially when it's coming from your family. That can be so difficult because nobody wants to be, expelled from their family or feel like their family doesn't accept them because of who they are. That's why there's so many people who hide those aspects. But I think that nurturing the inner goddess is coming out of the shadows and saying, even when it's scary, I'm not going to hide. Even when I feel fear, I'm going to stand tall and I'm going to show the world exactly who I am. And I'm going to lead by example. And while people may not accept that or like that or understand that at first, you are planting the seeds for them you have shown them the light, so one day maybe that seed will grow. And one day they will learn to accept it. And that's why it's important to be true to yourself.
Yeah, radical self-expression.
Yes.
It gives other people permission to express themselves radically. And I think something that's so important to us is respecting all of these different forms of belief,
Absolutely. Because, there's no right way, there's no wrong way to worship the divine. That's why there's so many different sects of religion all over the world.
They're all just different ways of communicating with the same energy. And none of them is right or wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing that feels wrong to me is telling other people that what their way of connecting with spirit is wrong.
Yeah.
Because there is no wrong way to connect with spirit. It's whatever resonates with you. It's all just different aspects of one allness.
Yes, because
oneness.
We are all expressions of that source. So we're all going to connect with the source in different ways. But at the end of the day, it's all the same source living within us. It's just a different expression. And how beautiful is it that you were given a body and that you were given a sense of individuality. And while, we are all one and we all are one species, we are still so different. And I think it's beautiful to celebrate the differences between everybody, because if everybody was just being themselves fully, and if everybody wasn't feeling that fear of judgment, and if we could release that judgment, I think that this world would be an even more beautiful place, because it would give everybody the space to just be themselves and express themselves and how they feel comfortable. And if we could just have a little bit more compassion for others and celebrate others for who they are and not try to put people in boxes, then the world would be such a better place.
It does seem like the collective is moving in that direction, though.
I think so too.
I feel like we have more freedom than ever. It seems. I don't know if that's true. But it feels like as a collective of humanity, we have more freedom and opportunity to express ourselves than ever.
And I think that through people stepping forward, that is an act of, what's the word? Not defiance, but it's like an act of like radical self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And it can be viewed as very radical to love yourself fully.
And there's always going to be someone who doesn't resonate with what you're putting out there and what you're doing, but
that's okay.
As long as you do, there will be other people out there who find you that are the same as you and feel the same as you.
Right. And if you're being yourself fully and someone doesn't resonate with that, then they don't need to be in your life anyway. And if you're trying to cover up a part of yourself in order to fit someone else's mold or to satisfy someone else's perspective of what they think you should be, then, you know, that's just part of letting go and releasing, you know, that relationship at times. And you can still have love for people, but sometimes loving from a distance is what is best for you in order for you to love yourself fully. Because at the end of the day, people come and go, but you have you and you will be with you for the rest of your life. So you need to make sure that you're being the version of yourself that you love and that you're happy with and that you feel good about.
So all of this is just to circle back to where we started, which is nurturing our inner goddess.
Yes.
We want to continue making videos like this and talking about these types of topics of nurturing ourselves, ways to align with your highest self, and just different spiritual topics and mindfulness topics.
Totally.
And like talking about different practices that we can do and different things like this.
And we would love to hear your feedback if you made it all the way through this video. What are some ways that you nurture your inner goddess? Because we would love to open that dialogue and continue this conversation, because it's a huge topic, and of course, you know, we could talk about this for hours.
Obviously.
But we would love to hear your input and what brings you joy and what makes you feel most within your goddess. So
I love that question.
Yes.
If you want to connect with us further, follow us on YouTube or Instagram at Dancing Devis.
Yes.
And thank you so much for following and watching us. We hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful day or night wherever you are, and that you gain some beautiful insights from this.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. We are so grateful and so appreciative, and there will be more content coming soon. Much love.
Much love.